Let's
And we are
record.
live. Beat you to it.
Hopefully, we can make this easy for Scott. But let's be honest, we never want to do that. Super happy. Wow, I'm saying happy too much. Let's start that one more time. Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, I just had 8 yards of dumped on my house. My fudge.
Cheers. So I just screamed the word cheers at you.
Two top tier. Let me start that again. Sorry.
All right, bingo.
Thank you, John. So I chosen did. I chose.
He's got the giggles now. I chosen did.
Brain spasms.
Bleep this out, Scott. Insane.
The consummate professional. I don't know how I do it.
Absolutely fantastic.
The third issue. Wow, that sucked.
All right, bingo.
Brain spasms.
Fudge.
All right. And episode 94. Absolutely fantastic. Welcome to episode 94 of the Plastic Posse podcast. We've missed you the last 2 weeks and super excited to bring you this latest episode. This is all possible by our Patreons and our special sponsors of Tankcraft, Tamiya USA, and AK Interactive. Without the support of these fine folks and corporations, this podcast probably doesn't come to you. So major shout out to all of you. So with that, let's get started, go around the room and see who we have in store today. We're missing one guy, great guy, best guy, and we'll get to him later. So start us off, Jensen, across the pond. Take it away. What's on your bench?
Hello. So on my bench is the Meng Jumbo still working on that. Still trying to work out how to weather it because it's going to be in the winter scheme. I think, like I mentioned last time, because it's the first in Bastogne model. Doing the thing I always criticize. I'm basically stealing a vignette that Nightshift did with the roots that are like coming out from the slightly overhanging bit of land, and there's water and a bit of frost that is a bit above the water. But I really liked that, and I didn't want to just recreate the image, the very famous image that's first in Bastogne, because I've seen it a lot. So I'm kind of doing like a what if sort of thing, like, okay, that image was taken, the tank's moving on, everyone's moving on, blah, blah, blah. So I've been working on the base, got all that built up, all the mud, the textures applied, the wood on the sides. But yeah, just been slowly working on that, slicing my finger open. That's always fun. But yeah, just one project at a time at the minute.
That's the way we got to do it. SMC is 5 months away, getting danger close, and the projects need to get started because it'll be here before we know it. Awesome. Well, with that, let's go over to TJ, another SMC attendee this year. What's on your bench?
Honestly, not a whole lot recently. I think the last episode I was talking about the Tack-On Whippet I was working on. I've done a little bit of work since then. I've had a kind of crappy week plus. We had to put our old man Ace to sleep earlier this week, so kind of been dealing with that. He's one of my cats. I'm sure people have heard me talk about before, seen me post about him on Facebook. He was pretty cool. He was pretty sick, so yeah, just kind of been dealing with that. Haven't felt much like modeling since then. That was 5 days ago, I think, from today. But it is a holiday weekend in the United States. It's Memorial Day weekend. I don't have too much going on, so kind of hoping to get back at the bench. I'd really like to, because I want to finish the Whippet, and then I got some stuff. I bought another Sherman, because you can never have too many. And there's a Lima M4A1 that was in Germany. It got sent to, I think, the Cavalry Collection got it somehow. They had it that when we were there in February. I took a bunch of pictures of it. It's really cool. It's an interesting vehicle, and when I saw it, I wanted to build it, and I've kind of decided I don't have time. I don't have 5 months sounds like a long time, but it's also not, because I'm busier in my personal life lately. with my job and all that kind of stuff. So I don't model as much, but I want to get something done specifically to take to the Netherlands this year. And I feel like that's a pretty good project. It's like I said, it's a Lima tank. So there's not too much terribly unique about it. It has a unique rear plate, which Tiger Model Designs has. I bought, so I should get that on Tuesday when the kit shows up. And yeah, just a couple other intricacies about it, but it's not going to be too bad. I get to build an engine for it, but everything else is pretty closed, so you're not going to see a whole lot. And yeah, so I'm going to start on that. That's going to be, I'm going to knock this, whip it out, finish our, write an article for it for the Scale Prospector, and then hopefully just kind of want to bed down and spend these next 5 months getting this project done for SMC. And it's kind of inspired by Kenneth Childress's Easy 8, Junkyard Easy 8 that he did. That's one of my favorite builds of all time from anyone. It's so good. So I kind of want to, follow his example and do something cool like that. I don't want to copy him because I'm not Jensen. I don't just copy people unless it's Brian Krieger, then I'll copy him all day long. But yeah, so that's what I got going on.
Nice. Well, very sorry to hear about Ace. I know we're all saddened by that. I know how close you were to him, and I know he had a great life. So very, very sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Maybe there's a little cat in your vignette at one of these points to.
Well, I have one painted like him from a previous vignette that is just sitting there. So I probably just will pop him off and either use them on this one or just print a new one and make them. But yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's go over to Utah. He's flying solo this week from the state. Doug, how's it going?
Things are good. It's been a interesting couple of weeks. I guess it's been 4 weeks since I've been on. Got some more work done. I should be done with this Messerschmitt 109G from Tamiya, but I'm not. I'm still working on that. That's been a fun project. The kit is amazing. I've been printing like crazy, just knocking little figures out left and right. So I would like to start painting figures soon. And I just had 8 yards of dirt dumped on my driveway, so I'm going to be working on my yard quite a bit for this holiday weekend. Hopefully my evenings will be spent at the bench. I bought my wife a AK facade. She's going to be working on that with me this weekend. And I got a whole bunch of snake eggs. I know everybody cares. That's what everybody comes to hear, right?
I love snakes.
Snakes rule. But
snakes are very awesome.
I got 16 bull snake eggs and 5 ball python eggs. And so the next few months should be a lot of fun. Anyhow, that's what's going on with me.
I also have to say, I'm jealous that your wife is going to paint a facade. That's pretty cool. I've always asked, if you ever want to do anything, let me know. And she saw me do that facade last year, and she said, I think I'd be interested in something like that. So when we were in Vegas and Rick had brought the AK stuff and he had the new facades, I asked her if she wanted one, and she said, yeah. So she picked the number 4 Bullions, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it, facade.
That's awesome.
So it's very cool.
I mean, I'm probably like a lot of modelers. I always act like I don't care that my wife doesn't model, but at the same time, like I've always been like, man, it would be kind of cool if she like sat down here and hung out with me while we did this together. But that, I know that'll never happen for me. She has zero interest, so I'm a little jealous.
Well, we'll see how it goes. It should be fun.
That's awesome, Doug. We're going to continue going west. Grant, how are you today?
Doing good. I had surgery this week on my shoulder, just a fix. So I wasn't really modeling this week. Last week I did Vegas with some of you guys. That was a great time. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. I watched Doug talk to his wife back and forth, trying to figure out which facade to get. That was fun too. And again, I'm like TJ, I'm super jealous that his wife's doing that. That's really cool. What am I working on? I'm working on a buddy build right now with the Do. I will say it now, get it out of the way. And Rick Lawler and a couple other people. Bust. We're doing a bust paint. And I'm finishing up another 75 millimeter bust of a pumpkin witch, which I had at Vegas. I worked on a little bit. Busy though, really busy at Vegas. It was a great time. Thanks to the guys out there. But other than that, I'm trying to get one more diorama built for MFCA in October for Chicago. That's what I'm working on.
That's awesome, Grant. And, we don't have a special segment dedicated to Vegas, but I'm sure we'll talk about it multiple times. I'll wrap this up. Just like you, Grant, wonderful weekend last week in Vegas. Me, you, Doug. I mean, gosh, it was such a great crew. Unfortunately, TJ and Jensen couldn't make it, but definitely want to give a special shout out to Derek Post. He was so gracious to host us at his fantastic house and wonderful backyard. I could live in the backyard, for crying out loud. Beautiful pool, view of the strip. So gracious. Him and his wife MJ, just super, super nice. And then on Saturday night after the show, a major shout out to Carrie, Hank, and Dan, the Noffles, for graciously hosting a big group of us as well. I think pool party was the theme of the weekend, and it was awesome. Major shout out to both of them. Again, gracious hosts, gracious supporters of the Triple P. And I think what they've signed themselves up for is now a yearly tradition. So major shout out to them. What's on my bench? Bradley, we're finishing up the B this weekend, getting super close. And we'll talk about it a little bit more during a segment. But just trying to get that over the edge. And like TJ, like Jensen, focusing on SMC. We're 5 months away. I have one project picked out. I'd love to do a diorama, but as we've all talked about here, 5 months is going to come pretty quick, and we're all busy in the summer. So I'm at least going to get the M1340 done. Like Jensen, I have everything ready to go print. I'm going to get my printer dusted off this weekend and get that going. But bottom line is the Bradley will be done today, hopefully. And we're rocking and rolling there, and then it's on to something else. But, I'll say, we're going to have, I'm going to speak for TJ and Jensen and I real quick. We'll have our dedicated SMC projects, but like modelers, like all modelers, we get distracted easily. I'm sure there's going to be a slammer build in there somewhere. So you won't see us totally fixated on one project, but we'll bounce back and forth. But like, there's that one core project that you put your heart and soul in. And that's what we're going to be doing. I even have a facade like Doug was talking about to finish painting. But anyway, as we go through this episode, super excited to bring a bunch of topics. We have Nightshift coming online here, which is going to be great. I sadly missed out on it, but TJ and Scott have a great conversation with him about the Motion show in Hungary, and then some other things going on in his life, and super excited to get to that. But before that, I'll kick it over to TJ to give it a little shout out.
Yes, I think it was about a week ago as of this recording, the Screw Cutters Union, the SCU, some of our Comrade in Arms podcast, they are on what they said is, and hopefully is true, just a hiatus. Hopefully it is not permanent, but I just kind of wanted to give a tip of the hat and a toast to those guys. JB and Jensen and I got to hang out with Chris and Tracy when we were in SMC last year. And of course, all of us have met Will at the past two IPMS Nats. So kind of bummed to hear them kind of hang the towel up for now. Hopefully they'll be back, and then even better. So cheers, guys.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo that. Yeah, cheers to y'all. Hopefully you come back. As we all know, every podcast has a different flavor, a different take on things, and certainly their approach and their show will be missed. So hopefully we'll see you back soon, and certainly look forward to seeing Tracy and Chris in person at SMC this fall, and then hopefully we'll catch up with Will at some point throughout the West. Maybe he'll even come to commies. Who knows? We'll plant that seed if he listens. Maybe he'll respond to me. So. You're always invited to Colorado, Will. So what's up next? We're going to go over to Facebook, and we're going to check out what we liked in the group. I'll kick this off because fortunately I was the first one to get to the list because everyone else had this one picked. I'm like, nope, sorry, I already got it claimed. But it is Justin Lentz's HE162. It's a simply fantastic build, or shall I say absolutely fantastic. But it's Tamiya's 148th Salamander, also known as the Volksjager. Painted in MRP with Guns as well. He's got a bunch of aftermarket stuff on it. It was a buddy build with Ian Bonner, a good friend, great guy. But overall, just a stellar build. Justin's work is tight, and this is no exception. Super well done. Love the color scheme. Love the weathering. Subtle to the max, and just it's absolutely crisp. All the details are beautiful. No silvering on the decals. Cockpit looks awesome. And we've been just fortunate enough to be at the bench with him building it throughout these last couple months. So major shout out to Justin. Glad I claimed it first. And with that, I will kick it over to Jensen.
Oh, real quick. That was like a Shelf Queen build of his too, right? Didn't he like pull that off the shelf from like forever ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Man, extra hat tip for that. That's to be able to do that and not just forget about it like most of us do with our Shelf Queens.
Yeah, there's a reason why his name is called 37 times at the IPMS Nationals. So over to you, Jensen.
Thanks, John. So I chose our good friend Peter Fidlotsky's Edward Tempest Mark V. Stunning aircraft, beautiful, so much more attractive than the Typhoon. Very similar, but also very different. Yeah, just a very versatile modeler. Like, he builds aircrafts to an extreme precision. Beautifully done paintwork. From what I can see and what I can tell, that all the markings are painted on. It's just glorious. Really nicely weathered, nicely chipped. It's just a beautiful looking model. Yeah, and it's hard not to appreciate it. Peter's just a really bloody good modeler. Anything he puts his hands to just turns out golden.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm jealous that TJ has one of his builds residing at his house. All right, let's go over to Doug. What did you find?
I found a 48 scale Tamiya F4U1 birdcage Corsair by Ronaldo Reyes. This thing's gorgeous. The tritone camouflage on it, it's, oh my gosh. It's a Jolly Rogers bird. It's got the skull and crossbones on it. Weathering is fantastic. The paintwork is on point. You just can't say enough about this thing. I love this model. I love the airplane, of course. Who doesn't love a Corsair? But it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, Corsairs are awesome, especially when they're in the tritone, light blue, dark blue, white underbelly, camo scheme. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, really, really nice. Let's go over to Graham. What did you find?
I'm going to do Greg Lacey's 135th scale mirror models, which is not an easy kit. The bulldozer, armored bulldozer from Operation Overlord that the British used on Sword and Juno. It's a really good kit, really good build, great color, great subject coming into Normandy. June 6th coming up here pretty soon. Just an overall great build. Really like the weathering. He did a great job on it. Really nice, Greg. Can't beat it. Good job.
Awesome. And round us out, TJ.
I'm going to go with JT Scale Models. I feel like I know him too. I can't remember his actual name, but he's working on, it's a work in progress. So normally I try to pick something that's finished, but I like this a lot. I had to pick it, and he's working on the Riffield model Panzer III in the tropical scheme. So the tan and kind of greenish scheme. I like that scheme. I like the Panzer III, especially the J. And I know that you don't hear that a lot from me very often, but it is a pretty neat little vehicle. So, and he's doing a really good job. I love the scheme. And it's got the red and white numbers on the turret, which I do like. I love the red and white numbers. Anything that has red and white numbers on it, I'm going to like.
2 segments in a row, you've picked German armor. Let's just level set on that.
What did I pick last time?
You had the Panther last time, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. I did. That's right. I do like a Panther.
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Cats and dogs living together.
You're going to start walking weird too. So just watch out, everyone. So, oh man, that's awesome. I love the trope scheme as well. So that's great. Let's just talk briefly about the Scale Prospector. We dropped the second more robust issue, I guess you could say, and have just gotten a lot of great feedback from it. So thank you all the Patreons who have given us feedback, and online even as well, who's seen previews. It's been wonderful, and we can't wait to bring you the next issue. We're going to have some outside contributors, Steve Baker, Ilya Yut. As TJ mentioned, he'll have his Whippet. I'll bring my Leopard. Grants has a cool little segment on the KV tank. So overall, it's just getting really good. It's a lot of fun to put together. And if you're interested in contributing, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to highlight your work, whether it's just a gallery and a shot of a single model, or if you've done a little bit of a tutorial, we'd love to feature you. So if interested, reach out to any of us, shoot us a message on Facebook, and we'll get you in there. But looking to use it as just another way of sharing the hobby, sharing our love for it, and sharing some techniques. And we might even have some special issues coming up on the Bradley, because a lot of us are building it. But look forward to that. And thank you all again for your contributions and help bringing it to fruition. With that, I'll kick it over to TJ. Him and Scott had the opportunity to meet with our dear friend, Uncle Nightshift. Tell us a little bit about it, TJ.
Yeah, so recently Scott and I sat down with Martin, Uncle Nightshift, for the first time in a little while. It's the first time I've gotten a chance to talk to him, because I think the last 2 times he's been on the podcast, I've been able to be there to talk. So I was really looking forward to it. We had a great little talk, just kind of caught up. We talked about what he's working on now. So if you're a patron of his, I'm sure you know it's a Warhammer tank. And then we talked about what he might be doing in the future, and we talked about the Motion Show And then we also got into a little bit of astrophotography because I'm a huge astronomy nerd and so is he. So we got to kind of geek out about that for a little bit. So please enjoy.
Martin, how have you been?
Hello, friends. It's been a while, and I'm glad to be back.
It has been. We've been enjoying your videos as always, but understood that recently you traveled over to the Moson Show, and that's a show I know I've always wanted to go to, and we're just kind of wondering, maybe some of your thoughts on going to that show.
Yeah, like for you guys, it would be a huge trip around the whole globe, basically. And for me, it's like a 90-minute drive by car. So it's really close to my home. So it's pretty easy for me to go there. But I haven't been to Motion for, well, maybe even like 8 years until now. And back in the day, we used to go with a bunch of my friends from nearby. We would book hotels together, rooms next to each other and everything. We would hang out. And it was pretty cool. Back then, I was also competing. So that was a thing. And fun fact, once I won gold in Masters in Motion, that's when I stopped competing because I felt like my competing goal was met. And now I can put that to rest. But anyway, to this year, since I was there last time, they changed the venue. Back then it was in an old historical building, basically in the center of the town. Now it's in a sports hall, a newly built hall. And it comes with all the amazing things that come with new sports halls. Good lighting, windows in the ceiling, it's pretty airy, so you can breathe there even after a few hours. But interestingly, with all the people in there, it still felt pretty small. So, yeah. And also, parking can be an issue because the parking lot isn't the biggest. I also had to park in a nearby street. But just as in the past, the whole town basically lives by that show during that weekend. Also, fair warning, prices in restaurants go up during that weekend. And about the show itself, it was really nice. Like I didn't bring any models or anything. Me and my girl, we just went there to have a small trip, and she likes fantasy figures. So she always likes to watch those. And those were awesome. Yeah. But generally all the models were awesome. Back in the past, I was all about armor models and watching those tables. Now I was most interested in dioramas. The level is still pretty high. Like the show keeps its quality. I can judge it by a 8-year gap or so. And still, it's some of the best models I've ever seen in real life, in person with my own eyes, were there. Even this year. Some dioramas, also some armor models. There was a Nashorn in armor category, which was just beautifully painted with that disc camouflage and perfectly weathered. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like I was there just for a couple of hours. I was just there to see models, talk some business with someone, and just meet people. And that was pretty interesting because I'm a pretty strong introvert, and I was a little bit nervous that if someone will recognize me, like I was just hoping I wouldn't act awkwardly or something. And at first it was awkward, but then, it was just really nice when people were just, tapping my shoulder. I turned around and they asked if they can take a photo with me and have a few words. So yeah, it was very sweet. I was very thankful for that experience. And anyone who's listening and we met there, cheers, guys and girls also.
So it's been 8 years since you've been to the show. So
more or less, yeah. I can't really remember, but
you say it's still the level is still really high, which is what I've heard. I've never been to the show. Kind of after SMC last year, there was talk about how armor modeling had kind of stagnated coming from some people, and well, I agree with that in a sense, disagree with it in another way, and I think you've talked about it too. Would you say was that your experience at the show as well? Was it any progression in that you've seen in technique? Because a good model back then could still be a good model today, but have you seen any kind of did you notice a stylistic shift and anything like that?
I think I'll repeat the same sentiment we had with Spud in that episode where we talked about this problem. And it's that in the past, you could see, even in Motion, a huge gap between your, let's say, average models and the top shelf models. And now that line has been blurred. Like, I could walk the entire aisle with dioramas or even armor or anything. But, I specialize in dioramas and armor, so I can comment on that more. At the first glance, they were all at the same level, Then when you started looking closer, you started picking those are the really cool ones. These are also good, but that's one slightly better. This is much better, and so on. So you could start spotting the differences. But yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, the overall level, like the average level, is much higher these days. And that's something like a lot of people asked me, and I want to comment on that and also bridge the topic because they're kind of similar. Like, some people asked me, even when I was at a local model show where I also brought models, but I just didn't enter the competition for the reasons I already talked about. And some people were, poking fun at me, like, is it because you think you're going to wipe the floor with everyone or something? And I was like, no, don't get me wrong. Like, first of all, I don't think that. And second of all, just look at the quality on those tables. Like, these people would wipe the floor with me, not the other way around, Just because I'm on YouTube doesn't mean I'm a great modeler or anything,
I think that's a great point, but also that you've had a role in that and other prominent YouTube modelers that are really, really good like yourself. I think a lot of people are visual learners, and I think that YouTube has really helped move the hobby more than it was being moved in the past when we were sort of more of a magazine-based hobby. You'd see a magazine 2 or 3 months after a big show, where now you can hop on there and see, new videos all the time, new techniques, new products from the manufacturers to support that as well.
I'd say so, yeah, because videos also helped me to learn new things, for example, paint figures. But yeah, the models are really awesome. And when we want to compare SMC to Motion, I can't be objective here because I wasn't to SMC, but just seeing from photos, I'd say SMC is maybe a few percent higher than Motion. Like, it's a slightly bigger show, and the overall quality is even higher. But that doesn't mean that Motion is low, not at all. It's a really huge show. You get people from all over the world there. There were people from Asia. I don't think I met someone from the US. Maybe I did. They just didn't mention it, But the biggest core of people are more of the locals, so to say. So Hungarians, Slovaks, Czechs, there's a lot of them. Poles as well, British, Germans, Austrians, Italians, a lot of Italians, so it's still mainly European show, but also there come people from all over the world as well. I think someone even mentioned they were from Australia, but I'm not sure. Could be true, might be not, but it's plausible.
So they posted on their Facebook page a breakdown of the entrance of people that entered stuff, yeah. And I think there was one or two from Australia, and there was maybe 5 Americans. There wasn't. Mm-hmm. That was just people that had entered models. I don't know about just attendees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they actually have a world map at the wall where you can pin, where you come from, and it's like the Central Europe is just flooded with those pins all the time.
Going back to kind of comparing with SMC and saying you haven't been there, next year, World Model Expo, I think, is going to be in Versailles. Any chance that you'd consider maybe going to an event like that?
It's actually funny because I met people from SMC in Motion, and we just had a laugh about it being a tradition for them to invite me each year to be a judge and for me to decline each time. And it's because, I don't know, I'm more of a stay-at-home modeler, and Motion is close, so it's easy to go there. But I can't really imagine, and I have huge respect for everyone who's willing to pack their models and travel with an airplane, risking total destruction of their work. I wouldn't be willing to undertake that. So yeah, and judging, a lot of people have criticisms against judges, and it was the same this year. But judging, in my eyes, especially on such a huge show, is more of a sacrifice by the person judging, because you spend 6 or 8 hours of your Saturday judging, sitting at the table, having basically no breaks, missing a lot of free time which you could spend with people. And I can imagine you're working under pressure, So that as well, because SMC guys always inviting me to be a judge, and I'm not really keen to do that. And also because, I have my own opinions about judging models. Like, it's not a sport where you finish first and you're obviously the winner. There are a lot of subjective factors that go into that. It's interesting because it seems like almost every year after Motion, some people are now not happy with the results. And sometimes it's really interesting. I think the last year I was there before this, there was a lot of talk about dioramas because there was no gold in dioramas in Masters category. I mean, you guys know, and also the listeners probably know how the open system works. So this situation can happen even without the judges knowing about that, because they give score to the model, then the scores are averaged. And if you didn't reach, let's say, 95 points out of 100, you don't get a gold. And if no one has that, there's no gold.
As someone that's traveled via airplane with their models multiple times, it never gets easy. Every time sucks just as much as the time before, and I don't like doing it. I've had enough damaged. Last year when I went to SMC, I took one box and it got knocked over, but luckily nothing broke that couldn't be easily fixed. A figure fell off of a tank. That was it. That was the worst damage.
Like my friend Oscar, he had a pretty clever idea. He made a clear box for his models, so the customs and people and everyone, they can see what's inside. And he told me that even then they tried to flip the box over.
Yeah, when we were coming back from SMC last year, Spud gave my friend Jack, I think you've talked to Jackson before, gave him a Sherman that he built, and it had metal tracks, and the customs people or the security people in the Netherlands were like, we need to take this out of the box. They just reached in and grabbed this work of art by Spud and held it upside down, and we're just sitting there like, oh no. But nothing was wrong. But I was just like, oh, I couldn't believe that. Like, if it was mine, I wouldn't care. But like, it was a gift from Spud, and it's amazing.
Something similar happened to me in Motion. In the past, I brought a tractor, which was basically an excavator, but a tractor. Back then, I wasn't making any scenic bases, so it was displayed on a polished, glossy, black, wooden stand, and it wasn't glued to the stand because you have just 4 small wheels, and I didn't want to mess things up with super glue or anything. And you can put a label that the model is not attached to the base. They were judging the model, and I saw that, and they were holding it up like that, and they were trying to see the underside. And the judge was just securing the model with his palm of his hand, like if it slides down, he's gonna catch it. Man, yeah, that's also sometimes pretty interesting.
I think I haven't flown nearly as much as TJ has, but yeah, when you do, it's just really intense. I went really early. I know a guy, I live here in Utah, in the Salt Lake airport. I knew one of the general managers for Delta. And so he gave me some tips. This is when security is going to be the slowest. And, you try to show up and use a clear case, like you said. And, I had a pretty pretty good experience overall. But, some of our buddies have had just models absolutely destroyed on the way to competitions.
The other thing I don't like, sorry. The other thing I don't like is, I can't remember what airplane it is, but the overhead compartment tilts this way. So you can't, like, the old ones would drop down and stuff would stay level. You can, like, if it's too big to fit under the seat, can't remember where I was going. I tried to put it on my seat and it was sticking out, and the flight attendant was like, that's got to move. I'm like, I don't want, I need it here. Like, don't care. Yeah. It's got to move. I'm like, okay. And then it was the type of the overhead compartment, like, tilts back like this. So when I set it, and I just watched it as I'm closing it, I'm like, oh, I know everything's just going to fall off.
Yeah, someone had an experience from the airport, from that X-ray machine, where you put all your things on the belt. And the machine has those rubber flaps, which, secure it. And someone had a diorama with, I don't know how many figures sitting on the tank, riding on the tank. And he had to put it out of the box on the conveyor belt. And those rubber flaps, all the figures went down.
Oh, it's terrible. And then, like you mentioned, you get the odd show once in a while that I think it's getting to be more the exception, but where they want to pick it up and look at the bottom of your tractor. It's like,
yeah, you could actually make a special episode of your podcast, like modeling horror stories from over the world. Just let people know to send you their stories and just read them all.
That's a great idea. We should definitely do that. All right. Well, listeners, if you want to run into Martin at a show, it looks like you better get some tickets to Hungary for Motion, because it sounds like that's probably your best bet. Well,
as far as I would ever go.
Well, let's talk about what you've been up to and what you want to talk about, if anything, as far as what's coming up. I mean, I think speaking for myself, some of these recent videos of your facades and your architectural buildings, and I mean, I've really been enjoying those a lot. The water wheel was incredible, and I really like your locomotive as well. So it's been fun to see you do kind of some newer type subjects with that. How are you feeling about things, and kind of maybe what are some things that you want to do moving forward?
I don't know. Should I make a spoiler? Should I tease the next model?
Totally up to you. Totally up to you.
Okay, I'll do it. Warhammer.
Nice.
Warhammer tank. Painted in a realistic style, if possible. Yeah, basically, I want to try some new things, like not completely crazy, like totally out of my comfort zone or the opposite of my comfort zone, but give a different spin on some subjects which are still kind of similar, and we can still employ the techniques we all like and use, and see where that goes. And yeah, like I think it was the beginning of this year or after the last facade, I just went through my stash and I picked 5 specific models that, okay, I'm going to build those this year or in the nearby future. I'll try to build them faster than 1 year and see what comes out of it. Each one will have something different. There are going to be also some armor models, but again, something very different about them. So we'll see how that goes. And maybe we'll even see an airplane diorama. Maybe.
Man, teasers everywhere. You guys heard it here first.
Yeah, like people are going to be now asking, where's Nightshift and what did you do to him? Because this can't be him.
Well, I know personally, I would love to see you build an airplane as a multidiscipline modeler myself. I do an airplane on occasion, but yeah, someone as a primarily armor modeler, like doing an airplane is way different and it's freaking weird, but I don't know. They're super fun. There's a lot of annoying crap about them, but yeah. Uh-huh. And I feel like we do it better than most airplane guys do.
Well, I don't know anything about airplanes. Like the last airplane I built was when I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old. So, basically no experience. But it feels to me like once you get through the stressful parts, like having the wings aligned and all the ghost seams eliminated, and then you start airbrushing, maybe, okay, masking of the canopy is going to be a nightmare for me. But everything after that sounds pretty fun. But yeah, I don't know.
There is something about painting an aircraft it's just different. I've done 2 in the last couple of years, and I'm working on a third. And the second one I did, just, I don't know, I had more fun painting that than paint almost anything else. Because I don't know, just painting, it's just, I don't know, it's just different. You can do different things, I feel like, that work to make it look interesting.
Maybe it's the shape of the thing as well. Like with armor, sometimes you spend time on things that you already know are not going to be visible in the end. Like you feel like you're wasting time. But on the airplane, I can imagine everything you put there is right there on display, you know, like for everyone to see. Maybe. I don't know. I'll find out maybe.
Yeah, and especially like with World War II aircraft, it's also, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of easier because there's way less like dangly shit and corners and little nooks and crannies like you find on armor, especially like modern armor. Scott and I were talking about that earlier, that it's just priming and painting that stuff can just be a chore because you're trying to flip it upside down and make sure you get paint everywhere. And I found in my experience, at least with aircraft, everything's right there. You don't really have to turn it upside down to paint the bottom. That's pretty much it. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my friends, when he used to be an armor modeler and then he started sort of shifting towards airplanes, he was always a practical guy. So he didn't paint the undersides of his models, even the lower side of the exhaust. If it wasn't visible from eye level, he didn't paint it. And we were poking fun at him, like, do you even weather the undersides of airplanes? And he was like, no, I don't even paint them.
I think you've been moving. I think people would have said you're an armor modeler when you started your YouTube channel, right? And I think you're definitely now a diorama modeler. I mean, figures and architectural elements. And I think aircraft in World War II bring a lot of really interesting diorama perspectives or possibilities, because you've got, not every airfield is a pristine piece of concrete. You've got North Africa, or you've got the Pacific, or, you've got grass fields in Europe. I mean, I think there's some really interesting and compelling ideas for dioramas in that regard.
Yeah, like the same friend who isn't painting the undersides of airplanes, he was asking me if I could make him a scenic base for one of his airplanes. And it's a winter camouflage plane. And I told him, just send me some reference images because I have no idea how a snowy airfield looks like. And he sent me photos, and they were nice reference photos for the airplane. But the scenic base, I told him, just pour plaster on a plinth and you'll be done, because, it's just snow, nothing else. Like, we need to come up with something more interesting, so then we found some ideas, like they have planks underneath airplanes, basically parking spots for airplanes, and we can put some bushes behind it or snow barriers or something. So yeah, there are possibilities. And also with crashed airplanes or crash landed airplanes, there are huge possibilities. And especially when you can combine them with 1/48 scale armor.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think Tamiya even makes, the mainstream Tamiya, they make like aircraft refueling trucks and, different things like that. So yeah, that's an interesting element. And with 3D printing, I think a lot of people are making more 48 scale figures than ever before. And so that's something that I think is going to be a lot easier to get, decent subjects in as well.
Yeah. And it was also interesting. We all know the traditional prices for armor models in 1/35 scale, 1/48 scale. So when I was looking at a specific airplane kit from Tamiya, I had to check twice or even 3 times if it's 1/48 scale, not 1/72 scale, because it's priced like 20 euros. And I'm like, that's too cheap. That has to be 1/72 scale. No, it's 1/48. So yeah, that's a pretty fun fact for someone who has no ideas about airplanes, not even the prices of kits.
To me, in both 48 scale and 35th scale, I think they've really been emphasizing value. We got a couple of new 35th scale figure sets from them. And, the new Tamiya figures are terrific. But, they'll give you 5 figures and a bunch of machine guns for $20 American. And I think they've really done a great job in delivering value. And their 48 scale line has always been a tremendous value.
Yeah, the 48 scale armor is... Yeah, like you said, value, I think, is the best word, because you'll get a piece of everything, like ease of assembly, interesting subject, interesting scale, compact size, and everything. But there are, of course, there are compromises. Like sometimes the detail is way oversimplified. And when we compare that to 1/48 scale aircraft, it's a night and day. I think they are simplifying a bit too much in armor. But again, it's not a kit that's going to fight you until the end. It's a nice fitting kit, which you can just shave off those details and replace them.
Yeah, and I think they're priced at a point where if you want to add that photo etch set of fenders and you want to add a nice set of tracks, you can do that and still be sort of at the price of a Dragon tank or whatever. A lot of the new Tamiya armors coming out, in the $50-$60 range for a brand new 35th scale kit, So yeah, I think value, again, that's a way to go. What about the Masters of the Air series, I think has sparked a lot of interest in 48 scale aircraft dioramas, but are you interested in airfield buildings and, kind of pieces like that?
I don't know yet. Right now, I'm just basically forming very rough ideas in my head and then I'll sort of decide which specific airplane I'm going to get. And I'm also considering the diorama possibilities, also storage space issues, because they're not small. And we'll see where it goes from there, because I always like my favorite dioramas from Shep Payne. Well, I think my favorite diorama was the crash landed, I think it was B-17 from Monogram. Like when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I mean, that's genius. Like, why is nobody else building crashed airplanes? They're so amazing, It's like battle damaged armor. You have you can add so much texture and visual interest to a really streamlined, dare I say, plane, shape of the plane, no pun intended, but you know what I mean.
So talking about building an airplane, would you ever, I don't know, venture into straight up fantasy stuff? Because you're on the border if you're building 40K. 40K is just like fantasy with tanks. Would you go to straight fantasy and do a larger scale, 75 millimeter figure in a scene? Or they make 54 millimeter is pretty popular in fantasy too, and make little dioramas, scenes like that. Have you thought about that?
I haven't gone that far yet in my thought process. Maybe I can't really give you an answer because I never thought about that. But I remembered it was a long time ago, and it was some specific modeling forum. I don't know if it was for Warhammer or just figures in general, but someone was building a large-scale Imperial Guard figure or Space Marine figure from Warhammer, and he was basically redoing everything. It was like a super detailed build of a fantasy figure, and it was so amazing to just watch it. Like, he fully sculpted the new banner for him. Even the picture on the banner was sculpted, and everything was reworked, with wires. All the tubes were made from twisted wire. It was so amazing. But again, that's right now for me, it's completely unimaginable to even consider something like that, because it's just so different, like criminally different from what I'm doing right now.
I like that, criminally different. I don't think anybody's gonna come grab you for that. At least not. Hopefully not. How goes the home improvement? It seems like you're always remodeling something.
Yeah, I just can't stop. The interior is finished, and for this summer, my project is the backyard. There's a small, basically an outbuilding there, but I have not a mechanics shop, more like a workshop, where with bices, saws and everything. And the other room is for my bikes, and the first room is just a junkyard. So basically, I want to turn that into a nice modern looking building, add a pergola to it, so I can have barbecue somewhere nice, and also new tiles. Is it tiles or cobblestones, but modern? I don't know the specific word, but that's going to be a huge project, but the company is going to do that for me. And then I don't know, I'll probably be bored, or maybe I'll just start reworking what I started with 2 years ago. with the bedroom. It's already obsolete. It needs a makeover.
It's like the never-ending cycle. By the time you get done with all your projects,
someone told me a house is finished once you sold it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, but it's like modeling in real life, so it's fun, and I'm very grateful that I can learn some of those manual skills. Like I don't know, like the other day I was reworking all the electric wires. They were outside on the wall, which is something I've done in my house on purpose with fake wires, and outside I was removing them and making grooves in the mortar and putting them underneath it and covering them up. So I'm really grateful that I can also learn those skills, because in a way it's pretty relaxing for me, even though my back and legs hurt at the end of the day. But it's a nice experience and a pretty nice change as well. Just working with your hands. That's also fun because when I started YouTube, I always made sure before I started filming to have my hands and nails clean, because someone pointed it out, like, man, your nails are nasty. I was like, okay, well, that's awkward. That's embarrassing. I need to pay attention to that. And nowadays, I just noticed when I was filming something, like, yeah, my nails are really bad, but who cares? I need to work with my hands as well. It just comes with the job.
I haven't really ever thought about that, but that's kind of a funny element.
Are you still biking?
I'd like to, but there's not enough time for it right now. Maybe when the company comes and they're making the pavement and everything, maybe then I will have time. But yeah, like I went for a ride a couple of times, and I was actually talking with my cousin who also bought a decent bike, that maybe one Sunday we should go to a bike park, because I think I already forgot everything I learned in bike parks. Like, descending is going to be scary for me again. And that might be fun. Yeah, but so far, no specific plans. But, life changes and everything. Priorities also change, and you need to manage your time. I also need to make time for Astro Photography, because sometimes when you're tired, you just don't feel like, setting up your telescope in your backyard, and you just want to be on the couch and watch TV or read a book. So yeah, but tonight actually I'm gonna shoot something because it's clear and the moon is at 21%, I think. So yeah. And also I started reading books, a lot of books. Like, so far I think I've read like 16, 18 books this year. Yeah, so that's a pretty nice new venue. I actually used to read a lot of books when I was younger, but then when I went to university and there was a lot of reading, I lost all passion in books, and now I rediscovered it again. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It actually cured my problems with falling asleep. I had a lot of problems falling asleep, and now when I have a book reader, it's like, I don't know, it just puts you to sleep. When I go to bed tired and I'm reading, I know I won't get past 5 pages. So that's really good.
Yeah, I know how you feel about biking. I walk past my bike almost every morning when I go to work, just covered in dust. I'm like, man, I really need to get out there and ride that. But then I get home from work and I'm tired, or I don't feel like it. And I don't live anywhere really close where I can bike. So I have to drive somewhere. And I'm like, I just don't feel like it. I would love to. And unfortunately for me, where I live in Virginia, like every weekend this year, like literally the whole year, it's been crappy and rain and it sucks.
I mean, last year was pretty cool. I also had some nice trips like across or along the entire mountain range, which was nice. But yeah, this year it's been really poor, like miserable in terms of biking department. But I'll try to change that, because, we have just one life and we should seize it in every way possible that makes us happy.
Now, I think you mentioned Astro Photography the last time you were on, or maybe the time before that. I wasn't on that episode, because amateur astronomy is one of the things that I like to do as well. I don't do astrophotography, just because I never got into it. I would like to, but I'm curious, what is your setup? Like, what are you using?
Can I be like totally specific and geeky?
You can, because I know I'm going to know what you're talking about, and it's okay. I don't really care if anyone else wants to know this. I want to know this for my own edification.
Okay, so main scope, William Optics Red Cat 51. Guide scope, also William Optics, and basically full ZWO gear. So AM5, ASI Air, camera is ASI 533 MC Pro, so a color camera. What else is there? EAF, so automatic focusing system, and dew heaters, of course. And what else? What else is there? And 2 filters, Optolong L Pro for galaxies and so on, and L Extreme for emission nebulae.
What's your favorite thing to target?
Emission nebulae are the easiest with the dual band filter because it's just glowing gas in space. So that's pretty easy. But recently this year, reflection nebulae have been my favorite because they play with all kinds of colors, and some of them, especially the dark ones, are pretty hard to capture. So when you get them right, it's extra satisfying because it's basically just a dark cloud of brown dust on a black background. So it's pretty challenging, but really, really nice when it comes out nice. Oh, and also I should also mention the software. So I invested in PixInsight, which is the go-to software for people when they take it seriously, more or less. So yeah, that makes the whole process so much easier. And I also have a, what's the name? The battery, Jackery 500. So basically portable source of power. When I feel like shooting somewhere outside.
Do you ever just do any casual viewing without photography?
No, not really. Like, I used to when I was starting, like I would also look at the sky. Nowadays, I just set everything up, go inside, shoot my flat frames in the morning and pack everything up.
That'd be a pretty interesting video. I'd like to check that out.
I mean, there are so many channels out there with this type of stuff, so they already have it covered.
What do you do with your pictures? Do you print them or anything?
I've printed some of them. I have them hanged in those, black picture frames, basically the same ones I used for my facades, and I have them on my staircase. So the blank, boring staircase now basically turned into a small gallery of pictures, and the rest I just keep them in my phone. I post them sometimes on Reddit when I feel they're pretty good, but not very often.
Yeah, it's a cool hobby, and I think a lot of people that don't know much about astronomy or astrophotography don't necessarily appreciate like what goes into it. And I've known just in normal like amateur astronomy and viewing, people don't always, I guess, because they see like Hubble photos, right, and they think that's what everything looks like, and then you look at a nebula through the telescope, and you're like, oh yeah, doesn't look like Hubble. I'm like, well, yeah, Hubble's also in space and costs like hundreds of millions of dollars. My telescope was $800. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about Hubble and also JWST is that also all of those photos are false color because they are took this way for scientific purposes because it allows them to separate the emission lines and then understand what the nebula is made of. And I didn't read much into it, but I think this way they'll say they can also predict the atmosphere of exoplanets and also predict if there are chances for life based on these false color emissions.
Yeah. Scott's over there like, what?
Yeah, like, welcome to Astronomy Talk with TJ and Mark.
With already.
No, it's pretty interesting. Hobbies are fascinating, and people get passionate, whether it's riding a mountain bike. JB got invited to go run a model railroad, like a very, very serious model railroad, which is something he'd never done before. But yeah, hobbies are great. Passion sort of seems to find its way into all these different ventures that we do. So anyway,
you actually mentioned something very interesting, model railroad. Like Mike Rinaldi already does it. And I think that's also a pretty interesting subject for modeling, like buying a locomotive and just weathering it.
Yeah.
In some way.
There's a dude on Instagram, I don't know his name, but he does, all I've ever seen him do is railroad stuff, and it is so freaking good. Like, it's amazing. I can't remember the guy's name. I've talked to him like once or twice just be like, dude, I don't know what you're doing, but it's phenomenal. And I know a couple other guys that are armor modelers, but then also this guy Preston Singer, he's on Instagram too. He
Evan also Panzermeister.
Yeah.
Makes a boxcar from time to time.
Yeah. I used to make some pretty good money. I would go, I live out here in the West in the desert, and so locomotives get pretty dirty. So I'd go take pictures of Union Pacific locomotives, which are kind of this orangish yellow color, and they show weathering really well. And then I'd go weather one for some of my railroad buddies, and they'd pay me a lot of money. They really liked it because, you kind of bring that more armor modeling, approach to it. Yeah. They really liked it. So
good to know. Good to know.
My buddy Preston, that's Preston Singer. That's what he does. That's his job. Is weathering the pre-painted model railroad, and he sells them. And these dudes pay like ridiculous money.
What's interesting about these railroad models, like editor of I don't remember the name of the magazine, but it's a railroad magazine, and he asked me to send him a few pictures of my dioramas, like 2, and I didn't understand what did he need them for. And then he sent me a preview page, and I understood. He was comparing stylistic and realistic approaches, and I mean, I've never seen a more striking difference between realism and stylistic modeling than on those 2 pages. Like my dioramas, they looked like cartoons compared to those trains. And what was also interesting that those photos I saw there, like I already said a couple of times that railroad models are more about the overall picture. Like the closer you look, the more you see it's just a scale model and very small one. But those that I saw there, like you couldn't tell. Like some of the photos I saw there, I thought they were reference images, like taken in real life. But then I looked closer, like, okay, that's a model. Wow, respect.
Yeah, and for if you have an interest in railroads, honestly, a model railroad layout, there's guys that do them in their entire basements. They're basically like a huge diorama with, you've got that element of locomotion, but you've got buildings and scenery and figures and sort of all those disciplines. So really respect what a lot of those guys do. They spend a ton of money and sometimes 20, 30 years to put those together.
Yeah. And they keep perfecting their craft over those years when they're focusing on the same subject, and then it really shows, like, in the end. And I was also blown away that, some of them also pay a lot of attention to buildings, which is something I can really appreciate and enjoy. And some of the railroad buildings, which are actually scratch built from styrofoam, like they're not pre-made kits, they look just amazing. That's also a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, some of my favorite modelers, Luke Towan, Chuck Doan, are railroad or railroad adjacent guys. And I just really love the way they see things. Chuck will work on a gas station, an abandoned gas station, and for 4 or 5 years. And the end result is just jaw dropping. He's really great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put anyone down if they do it as well and their work, but Chuck Doan is probably the only modeler I saw painting actual wood grain, including the knots in the wood.
Yeah,
on the wooden planks.
Yeah,
that's hyper realism.
Yeah, I've seen him. He did a steam mule, that old lumberjacks used to use to power saws and things. And I remember he was doing the timber sled that they would move this mule around on. And I think he spent like a year just on this, basically a bunch of timbers that were, nailed together and screwed together. And just like you said, every bit of wood grain on every piece, and, just amazing, his attention to detail.
And
but
that's not just skill. That's also huge dedication, and discipline, because I can speak for myself. Like when I'm making a brick building, the bricks are fun in the first hour, but then they turn into a chore. So a lot of dedication and discipline.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very, very similar. You mentioned your brickwork and, you laying out the lines, but then you're deepening the grooves and you're, paying attention to the bricks that are crumbling and everything. It's just really great. It's really like the architectural aspect, whether it is armor or model railroading. But I think it's a lot of fun when you see it executed at a high level.
Pretty much anything that's done masterfully is a pleasure to look at.
Back to passion, right? Back to the passion. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Martin, I promised you we wouldn't be that long, so I want to thank you for this. It's great to catch up, and appreciate you coming back on the Posse with us. And thanks for the teasers. We've all got something to kind of look forward to, and hopefully you get some more astronomy pictures. Is that the right way to say it, TJ?
I mean, they're pictures.
Yeah, well, they are. Yeah, correct. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You know, and I always, when we end these chats, I always feel very, very happy just about everything. So thank you for that.
Anytime, man. Feelings mutual. It's always great to catch up. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah,
okay,
thanks.
Sounds awesome. Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, TJ and Scott, for that lovely segment. Always enjoy talking to Uncle Nightshift, and certainly can't wait to see his Warhammer tank done, and then also the other projects he has. I'll give a special shout out. He has corrupted the shunter for me. It was on the short list of things to build, and then he dropped his kick-ass one, and I have to sit back and go, you know what? I need to let that one breathe a little before I even attempt mine. So major shout out to Martin. You suck, but we love you. You don't really suck, but you suck. So anyway, thank you again for spending time with us. We love talking to you, and we love your work. And I can't wait to meet you in person someday. So with that, we're going to kick it over to Grant to talk about upcoming shows and events.
All right. So our buddy JC Osborne let us know about this one, June 22nd at 9 a.m., 4 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Oxnard, California will be WonderCon 2024 Model Contest and Swap Meet presented by the IPMS Region 101 Wonders. It's the 101 highway freeway there they talk about. The event will be held at the Murphy Auto Museum, and entrance to the museum and contest is $10. For more details, head over to the Ventura County IPMS page on Facebook. Wonderfest, the premier sci-fi focused scale modeling convention on June 1st and 2nd. Or we have the Crown Plaza Louisville Hotel. It's a big show. We have some great friends that are going to be there. Hopefully get some pictures from them. September 22nd is the IPMS Reno High Rollers annual show. For more details, check out IPMS Reno High Rollers on Facebook or message Cody Kaczynski. On September 27th and 28th, the Central Kansas Scale Modelers will be hosting RockCon, formerly Sprue-Doo. This show will be served as a 2024 region for Region 6 IPMS Regional Contest. Friday, the 27th, there will be classes from 8 to 5 by Jim Rice, Wes Salazar, and others. Saturday, the 28th, the contest doors will open at 8 a.m. and wrap up around 4 p.m. We utilize the Gold, Silver, Bronze Award, and there will be plenty of great vendors on site. Look for more information on our Facebook page at Central Arkansas Scale Modelers or the website at casmodels.org. The 15th annual Scale Model Challenge will be held in Eindhoven in the Netherlands on October 19th and 20th, 2024. For more information on their website, go to www.scalemodelchallenge.com, and we will have several of our people here that will be at that show. The annual MMSI show will be held October 18th to the 19th, 2024 at the Schaumburg Marriott in Schaumburg, Illinois. For more information, you can check out their website at www.military-miniature-society-of-illinois.com. For friends down under, Scale Act 24, Australia's friendliest scale modeling show, will be held November 9th and 10th at the Thorberg Park in Lynham, ACT. Modelers can enter models in the competition or select display only. We will have a segment of the show with Peter Davis, the president of ACT SMS, coming soon. Winter Blitz 2025, there will be held Saturday, January 25th at the Museum of the American GI in College Station, Texas. Okay, JB, what's over in Colorado?
Thanks, Grant. Appreciate that. So there is a brand new AMPS chapter we'd like to highlight. This is being formed by the Bradleys. So Mark and Jamie have established the Northern Colorado NOCO AMPS. In-person meetings will be held on the second Saturday of each month from 11 to 2 p.m. at their home to start, and then it'll rotate through members. So who knows, might even come back to Casa de Banani. And they will also hold a virtual meeting every third Wednesday of every month from 7 to 9 Mountain Time. So if you don't even live in Colorado, you can still join in the fun. I'm guessing it'll be a super casual club where we just build, hang out, and talk models and not necessarily armor models. So might be under the AMPS umbrella, but anyone and everyone is welcome. For more details, please reach out to Mark Bradley on Facebook or contact nocoamps@gmail.com. I also want to highlight before we get to our discussion topic that Scott's show, the first annual Rocky Mountain Expo, will be held from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Salt Lake City, Utah on June 22nd. This is shaping up to be a stellar show. You can find all the details on their website, RockyMountainHobbyExpo.com. The mountain in that is just an MTN, and we plastered it all over our Facebook page, so you can easily find it there. And you can also find their own Facebook page as well. So there are plenty of vendor tables available for $25 a piece before June 1st, and then they'll go to $30 afterwards. It's being held at the Utah National Guard aviation building, I guess you could say, and they'll also give tours of the hangar there, which will have Apaches and Blackhawks. Sean Earl is going to be executing that. He's one of the members of that team, and I'm super jealous I can't go to that. Additionally, they're going to have AK Interactive and Rick Lawler there. This is turning into a trend that I like. AK and Rick coming to shows, bringing their products to more modelers in the United States, and then also the expertise to go along with it to demo pencils, weathering techniques, and other paints that they have. I think they were a massive hit in Vegas, and I can't wait to see them show up again in Utah, just bringing another spice of life. With that, Grant will be also giving a seminar, and along with a couple other people. And one last thing I'll announce is that Barry Beidinger from the Small Subjects podcast will be bringing one of Shep Payne's renowned shadow boxes, a king of shreds and patches, to display at the show. So if you've never seen Shep's work in person, it's awesome. It's really set kind of the standard for where we are today. Definitely attend the show, and you get to see a piece of history, that is.
The Plastic Posse podcast is sponsored by Tankcraft. In addition to their awesome cutting mats, Tankcraft also makes some incredible scale modeling tools for your workbench. Want to keep extra thin cement off your bench and in the bottle where it belongs? Check out Tankcraft Glue Base, designed to stop glue spills in their tracks. The glue base is made from solid mill aluminum and comes with a stable rubber base pad and can accommodate most square and round cement bottles. And while you're there, check out their line of cutting mats and other unique modeling tools. Remember, Posse listeners get 15% off their first order by using the code POSSE15. So head on over to tankcraft.com. That's TANKRAFT.com.
So with that, I'm going to kick off our only discussion topic today. And this might sound like an order, but it's certainly not. It's more around the topic at hand. And it's simple. It's clean your bench. I picked this topic, and this topic is really influenced by a motivational, a graduation speech, but I should say a motivational speech, because every once in a while I like to listen to them sometimes on YouTube to get focused. And recently I've been doing this. I've been trying to be more systematic around cleaning my bench. And this all stems from a speech that Admiral McRaven gave at Texas A&M at a graduation ceremony. And he started off the speech by discussing make your bed. And I think there's a lot of ties between that speech, specifically that part around making your bed and cleaning your bench. And I know this might sound a little deep. We're just talking about hobbies, but some of these basic principles between them really resonated with me. And I'll just give some background. He talked about in Navy SEAL training, the first thing he did, and he does every day of his life, is make his bed. It's a simple task that you can complete. And at the end of the day, even if you've had a bad day, you come home to a clean bed, and it gives you hope for the next day. I think there's a lot of connection there between a bed and a bench. I've had plenty of terrible bench sessions. And lately, probably within the last month, again, I've tried to be systematic. Like, John, just clean your bench. Because I tell you what, when I walk in and see a clean bench, my attitude completely changes. It's more motivating, it's more freeing, and it's way less stressful. And, it helps where even if you've screwed up a project, at the end of the day, you can look at your bench and say, hey, it's clean. I'm ready to come back tomorrow. So that's the principle of this discussion, is cleaning your bench and going around the room. And that said, this is not to be prescriptive or ordering, because everyone's different. I like to acknowledge Nuke Man Mike. If that guy cleaned a bench more than once a decade, it'd be a miracle. And some people can live in that world. Some people can embrace the chaos. Don't get me wrong. I've been to there where I'm neck deep in a project and I get down to a 2x2 square inch space on my bench. But I will say, in many things I'm trying to make better in life these days in 2024, being more systematic at the bench is one of them. So I'll pause there. Would love to kick it over to anyone to talk about this subject. Do you clean your bench? Do you not? Do you find coming into a room with a clean bench? How, really, what's your approach here?
I'll go ahead and start. No to most of those questions. Yeah, it's weird. I like having a clean bench. I'm a fairly organized person. I feel like for the most part, and to me, it's just kind of like one of those things, like a disconnect between how I am in my professional life and how I am in my home life. I know, like, for any guys out there or any people out there that work in the industry that I do in the construction industry, you may identify with this, but like when I had a truck with toolboxes, you better believe those toolboxes were like impeccably organized. I'm a big believer in like the socket set. Every socket goes back into the box when you're done using it. The power tools go back into the boxes they came in. That's the way I ran my truck. That's the way I've run. When I have a gang box on a job, that's the way my gang boxes are. My personal toolbox in the garage is nothing like that. I probably couldn't tell you where my 13 millimeter sockets are. I think it's what I need. I should, because that's the socket that I have to use to get the plug of my oil pan out to change my oil in my truck, which I do frequently and always lose it because I don't put it back where it belongs. My open end wrenches are not organized. When I have an open end wrench set for work, that stays in the pouch, all organized by size. Mine, they're scattered all over the place. There's probably some inside, there's probably some outside. I've probably lost some. And that kind of like carries over into my bench too. I would love for my bench to be clean, and all I have to do is clean it. I just don't want to, even though I know probably in the long run it would be better for me as a modeler, because I lose shit like all the time. I'm sure most modelers lose parts because it's stuff small, but when your desk looks like mine, which is not as bad as Nukeman Mike's, I'm not like, it's not unusable, but it's easy to lose stuff. I mean, I lose a paintbrush. So I'm like, oh, where'd my paintbrush go? That's pretty hard. Paintbrushes are like 8 inches long, right? Like, you shouldn't lose a paintbrush in the desk. And I do. Oh, I can't find my X-Acto knife. I don't know where it is. How do you lose an X-Acto knife on a desk? You shouldn't be able to do that. I find a way. It's a talent for sure. But yeah.
Isn't that why we have extra knives and paintbrushes?
Yes. That's why I have like 3 different of the same style and size of tweezer, because I'll set it down somewhere and forget where I put it, or it'll get buried under something. I'll just go ahead and grab my other pair of tweezers, and then I lose that one. Drill bits are the same way. Instead of, putting the drill bits back into my little container with all the drill bits, I'll just set it, next to me, and it'll roll off somewhere. And I'm like, oh no, where'd my drill bit go? Crap. I want to go get this other one. Oh shit, I'm out of this one particular size that I use for everything, like a 0.08, right? It's like everything you have to drill a hole in on a kit, it's like always like 0.08 millimeter, because those are the ones I lose the most. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I really would like to. I try to make it like an earnest effort to clean my bench, and then I get like 3/4 of the way through, I'm like, that's good. And then within a week, it looks like it did before I cleaned it. Like right now, it's not bad. You probably can't see because of the bright lights, but it's not bad right now. It's definitely usable. I'm about to F it up here this weekend because I'll be modeling a lot. So yeah.
Go ahead, Grant. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were jumping on. I agree with you, TJ. I mean, I can't keep a 10 millimeter socket. I don't know what it is about 10 millimeter sockets. I just lose them like they're crazy. Work is very clean. Has to be, I guess. But I kind of went the other way with my desk. I clean my desk after I get done with each session. I'm just one of those people that when I walk in, I want to be able to start working right then, instead of just have to go look for a paintbrush or a paint or anything like that. So I can just jump in and start working. I really want to do that. Yeah, it's a little bit of time on the back end, a couple minutes here and there, cleaning airbrushes, cleaning paintbrushes, cleaning, getting all the little sprue here and there off. There's another reason I do it. If I don't clean it, I don't know what I have. And then I start buying more stuff that I already have. And I have notoriously done that with kits, accessory parts, barrels. And if I don't know what I have, I'm going to buy it again. And for some reason, I have 4 SU 152 barrels. And that's coming from being at a dirty desk for too long. So that's why I do it. I just like to be able to hop right in and start working right away, because I don't have a lot of time like most of us. So I don't want to have to start looking for stuff. So if I can come in and start working right away, I feel a lot more productive with it. Now, my storage where I keep all my models, don't ask. It looks like hell. That is where my mess is at. And that I always say I'm going to clean that area up, my little storage area, but I never do. I got kits on their sides. I got kits upside down. I've got kits with tops open. I've got, shelf queens everywhere. So that's my worst part. But other than that, my desk is clean. So that's where I sit with it.
Nice. Totally agree. Jensen, what are your thoughts on the matter? I know you do a deep clean every now and again.
Now and again. I get like 90% there, and then I'm like, close enough. I can begin working now. Time to start making a mess. I have really bad ADHD. And I'm not just saying that because a lot of people are like, ADHD moment. No, I actually have ADHD. So in my head, I want to clean every night. I like you said, like you all have said, when you walk into like a clean workroom or clean any room, even if it's like your bedroom or workroom, kitchen, you walk in and it's pristine and organized. It's just like, it is nice to be in here. It feels good. I want to be productive. Now, in my head, I want that. Can I physically bring myself to clean? No. Like I get paralyzed by the thought of doing it rather than actually doing it. So no, my rooms are before we started recording, I was like, just need to make sure that what's on camera looks relatively clean. What's out of frame is shocking. This room's a mess. I would like to, after I finish a project, deep clean, then mess can begin. But with the rate I build and finish projects, that mess lasts a long time. And I get really frustrated with myself. Like, I genuinely get quite pissy because the amount of models I've damaged because of the mess and clutter. And I'm just like, if I just tidied up after every session, this wouldn't happen. Simple. Doesn't make me clean though. Instead, but for some reason, my mind's like, no, I'd rather you sit there and get annoyed with yourself than just do something that is relatively very basic. Like Jordan Peter says, you got to tidy your room. Or Kermit, depends who you want to think that was. It's such an easy thing. Just a quick clean. Doesn't even take 5 minutes at the end of every session. But I only start thinking that once it's gone too far. Like, only when the mess starts to genuinely bother me and it's gone to the point of this is a full day clean. And then I get overwhelmed by that. So, I love having a tidy room. It's very rarely tidy. Like the pictures I put online, very organized paint rack, very organized model stash, very organized bookshelf. It's like, yeah, but my actual workspace is it's just stuff everywhere because I pull something off the shelf like enamel thinner or I get my oil paints out of the drawer. I don't just put them back. I just push them to a side. Then that bit of side starts getting smaller and smaller. It's annoying. I get really annoyed with myself, but yeah, what is it? Like, I get annoyed with myself, but not to the point where I'm willing to do anything about it. And that's where I get really frustrated.
No, I completely understand there. And you bring up an interesting difference there too. Like my bench, there's a certain portion where I work that I'll be honest, that's the area I've tried to keep clean. Now, if you look around the room behind me, it's kind of disastrous. And it reaches that critical point where you're like, okay, let's purge and clean everything. Like a good example, before the show started, I pulled out a bunch of kits and, the Spinosaurus I showed Jensen. Opened up the box, showed sprues, and then instead of putting it, back and making it all tidy, no, it's just sitting over there with the box lid open, crap everywhere, blowing out of it. So that's my life, and I need to get better at that portion. But the bench, I've started cleaning. Doug, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I have this a problem that I don't think anybody's mentioned is I have so much stuff and nowhere to put it. I keep buying supplies, and I didn't think through where every little supply was going to go when I built my room here. I need to kind of redesign things to give myself more storage for supplies, for tools and stuff. I have paint racks and I have shelves for bigger things, but I don't really have storage for little tiny bits and pieces. And so I have stuff everywhere. And then I tell myself, you know what, I'm not going to buy more stuff. Like we went to Vegas last week. I'm not buying more models. I came home with 8. I didn't expect to find Hobby One Japan with Bandai Star Wars kits for way less than retail. I didn't expect to find. Of course, I expected to find deals, but I wasn't going to buy more stuff. at the show, but AK was there. Rick was there with AK, and I bought a whole bunch of AK supplies. Well, I don't have any more space on my paint shelves. I just have stuff and I keep buying it. I don't have places to put it. So my desk is covered with stuff that I just don't have anywhere else to move it. So that's been my frustration.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I also have that same problem. I have run out, which it makes no sense because I have almost an entire basement to do whatever the hell I want in, but I have run out of room for a lot of stuff. I have a full closet just dedicated to my modeling stuff, and I have my like tabletop gaming stuff in there too. That does take up a fair amount of it. But even then, even with that, that's completely full. Because that's also where I put like all my in progress stuff that I don't feel like working on. So I have like 2 shelves just full of models that are built or in various stages of being built. That's a disaster. And then I have shelves behind me. They're completely 100% full. So now I have stacks of models that don't fit on the shelves on the floor in front of the shelves. I'd like to add a new shelf. I don't have any room for that shelf because that's where my gym is. And then I'm encroaching in that space and I'd like to expand that, but I can't because I got too much scale modeling in the way. And same thing with paint. I built a huge rack for paint that got filled up. So I don't even use that anymore because what's the point? Why would I put some of the paint on the rack when I can't fit all of it on the rack? So that's just moved to a dresser that's literally full of paint, which I got that idea from you, JB, because you have one of those in your closet. And yeah, it sucks. I've got aftermarket stuff everywhere. I've got bins for holding aftermarket different stuff. They're all full. And now I try to organize it by type. So I have like Sherman aftermarket stuff, tracks, blah, 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 blah. They're all full of different stuff. Yeah. It's like the biggest first world problem ever that I own a large house and don't have room for all of my toys. But yeah, it's frustrating. And like you, I also am like, oh, I'm not going to buy any more models. And then I should buy more models.
Well, I mean, I've got my model closet and it's full. The doors are open because there's no room to close them because I've got other models stuffed in front of them on the floor. The big boxed models are under this bench. I've got other models under this bench over on this wall, and then some of the shelves have models on them as well. I've got them scattered all over the place. Some of them started, some of them not, but I just don't know where to put everything.
Yeah, I agree, guys. I think my biggest problem is accessories right now. My accessories are getting way out of control. I got five different paint lines, decent amount of paint lines. I've got boxes of barrels and photo etch and figures and stuff like that. And that stuff, like you said, you don't really have a place for it. And I've got stuff in like bins, plastic bins that are stacked on top of each other. And that's what's killing me is my accessories right now. I wish I had some more space just for the accessories, but that's taken up by kids. So I guess I'm in an evil circle.
Yeah. When this room was first built, I had too much room. I was like, I need to start filling the space with stuff. I've now gone too much the other way, where if there's an empty space, I need to fill it with crap, even if it's not important. And now I've got too much stuff. I've run out of room. My main issue is kits. My bedroom's filled with kits. Under my bed is filled with kits. Our storage room is filled with kits. Even my mum's walk-in wardrobe is filled with kits. They've just kind of started invading everywhere in the house. Am I going to stop buying them? No, because there's too many new releases that are coming out that are too nice. And I don't like selling them. So, again, first world issue. Like, I'm asking for everyone's sympathy that I have too much stuff.
No, I think I'm echoing everybody. I recently moved my kits in the basement from the storage area because we put a gym in there, and I put them in the closet outside in the main, I guess you could say, entertaining space in the basement. And that closet's damn near full. I have the closet in the spare bedroom downstairs with kits. That's like the stash that I could sell, and I've started putting on the graveyard. And then I have the spare bedroom upstairs, which is really my office, and there's even some in the garage. So yeah, I need to get my together. But as we talked about, Doug, great example, Vegas. When there's a Trumpeter IS7 for $20, I'm not gonna not buy it.
You freaking stole that thing.
I mean, that's free. It's a $60, $70 kit on a good day. And then the Centauro I picked up for TJ, $10.
Yeah.
That's
it's criminal.
Yeah,
it's criminal. It's criminal. And then the guy in the corner is like, oh yeah, I'm going to do a buy one, get one. I got a Panzerhaubitze from Meng for $20.
Yep.
And Scott picked up a full interior SU-122 for $25. It's criminal. And I think that's where, we talk about brand new kits are awesome to buy and you can build them right away. But if there's a kit out there that you're not super interested in building super fast, like just wait. You will find it at a show and it will be criminal how cheap it is.
Yeah, I picked up from that same guy when he did his BOGO. I got an Arma 72nd scale Hurricane and a Tamiya 48 scale T55 for both were $25. I paid $12.50 a piece for those kits.
That's cheaper. You bought both for cheaper than what you can buy the Arma Hurricane. Yeah. It's shocking.
Seriously.
Yep.
The 48 scale Hurricane.
Yeah. No, he got the 72th one.
Even still, it's still that's like a $30 kit.
Yeah. Right. It's shocking.
And that T55 is like a good T55.
Yeah. Oh, I love that kit. I've built two.
Yeah. It's awesome. I have two as well. I paid way more than that.
Yeah, I got a Panzer, the new Tamiya Panzer 70A, and the new broom bar. Well, not new broom bar, but the newer broom bar for $40, both of them. For total $40. That's
free.
Yeah,
that is free.
So
you can't pass that up, and especially with I'll credit the graveyard again. It's just hey, you buy it. Maybe a year from now you don't want it anymore. Yep. Throw it up on the graveyard. You're gonna make money, for crying out loud.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's. I always say, hey, I'm not gonna buy anything, and then Colpar's swap meet is next week, a week from today. Guess what? I'm probably gonna buy something because somebody's gonna have a Suka Sherman's there for $15, and I'm gonna have to buy them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna buy anything. And then Sprue Brothers has the Magic Factory side by side dual kit for like $23 or whatever. I'm like, well,
yeah,
I did need to buy some primers, so I might as well.
Right. And I didn't need to buy anything this week, but Zaba Art, I got a targeted ad for their sweatshirt. So I'm like, well, I want the sweatshirt. Well, it's nice out. It's summertime. I better get the t-shirt. Well, since I'm ordering from them, I might as well get Hunty, the resin figure. And then $110 later, I have an order coming to my house. So, yeah, I'm just a sucker.
And then because you spent $100, you get a free bust.
That's right. So
you can't.
I cannot. And half of it's closed, so it doesn't go into that color of money when thinking about a budget on hobby stuff. So those are closed. They don't count towards that. Like I'm talking like I have a budget for hobbies. I just sad.
Do it.
And we're also waiting for our Zaba Art Kickstarter.
So, yeah.
Very, very giddy.
Yes, very giddy.
Can't wait to never paint them.
Exactly. And then we'll probably buy some more stuff from them at SMC. So,
of course you will.
Where we started with this was cleaning your bench. And I think that's the anchor of the whole conversation. And we want to do that. But it's kind of spiraled to the periphery in your room.
Well, I mean, I think because like a lot, not all modelers, but a lot of modelers, those two things are like interlinked, right? Like,
oh yeah,
my storage is next to my hobby space, most of it, not all of it, obviously. So it's kind of, it bleeds, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're the cleanness of your desk or lack thereof will bleed into everything else that you do. But I guess my closing statements on it are, I can't remember. I think we've mentioned this before, or I've heard someone say it, but a dirty art studio means it's being used. That's the way I look at it. I mean, if my desk would look perfect if I didn't build anything. So that's why I don't get too hung up on the fact that it looks like the hobo lives here, but like at the same time, like I do wish it was a little cleaner, but I think anyone could come down here and look at it like, well, yeah, at least he's productive. Maybe he shoot himself in the foot the whole time because it's so damn dirty, but at least he's trying.
For sure. Well, certainly this has been a great topic. Listeners, please feel free to chime in. Anything from your bench to your storage area, even your display case for that matter. Let us know what you think. If you clean your bench regularly, if you don't, like Mike, and then when it reaches, critical mess, you gotta come in and purge everything. But bottom line is, let us know your thoughts. We'll always love to hear from you. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to TJ.
Well, I'd like to take this time to remind you, the listener, that the Plastic Posse is just one of several great scale modeling podcasts. If you are interested in more scale modeling content, head on over to modelpodcast.com, where you'll find links to many other great podcasts about our hobby.
Posse also recommends several excellent modeling blogs and vlogs, such as Stephen Lee's Sprue Pie with Frets. He just got the 72nd scale Thopter from Meng. Super jealous about that. Chris Wallace's Model Airplane Maker, a scale Canadian TV with Jim Bates, and David Bryan Bridges' DB Scale Model Studio blog.
Hey, Jensen, what time is it?
Oh, let me just check. It's time for merch. If you would like to rep the Posse, check out our awesome merch on the Triple P Spring page. You can find coffee mugs, t-shirts, jumpers, or even some of our world-famous Triple P lounge trousers. You can order all of your stylish Plastic Posse merch on the web at loungetrousers.com.
Well, listeners, this was a little bit shorter than our usual episode. We're missing one. If you haven't noticed already, it's Scott. He is very lucky. He is up in Wyoming. Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, he's replaced now. Doug, who do you have with you? Who's taking over Scott's position?
This is Lincoln. He's looks a little shy here. You want to say anything, buddy? He's about 20 months old. He's the youngest of my grandchildren. Yeah.
That sounds just like Scott.
Yeah, that's right.
Like,
exactly. Sign him up. He's in. Oh, man. Cute kid. Our listeners can't see, but Doug's grandchild is very cute. We do have a 6 Posse member now. Thank you, Scott. We wish you well in retirement. By the way, you still have to edit our podcast because none of us can, and we're reliant on you for everything. So thanks, Dad. All right. We're going to wrap this episode up with myself, I guess. I'm just talking to myself. So Scott, feel free to edit this out, or you know what? Leave it in. Make your life easy. So we're going to roll with this. Thank you all for listening to episode 94. It's been a lot of fun. We did miss Scott. As I mentioned, he is up north in Wyoming at the National Museum of Military Vehicles. He'll be sharing content from there. Looks like an awesome spot. He's up there with his son and a few other folks from Utah. Very jealous of him, but very happy that he's getting to enjoy it. So again, thank you for joining us on episode 94. We want to thank our sponsors, Tankcraft, Tamiya USA, and AK Interactive for supporting us and helping us with everything in what we do. And also the Patreons. Without you, none of this is possible. So thank you for your constant support and also feedback. We love it, and contributions online. So with that, we will see you in 2 weeks in June. And until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and above all else, yeehaw!
One of the ways you can help support the Plastic Posse is to become a Plastic Posse Outrider. If you want to become a Plastic Posse Outrider, it's super easy. Go to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com at Plastic Posse Podcast and set up a recurring donation fee. These contributions help offset the cost of bringing you the Triple P. There are 3 different tiers starting just $1 a month, and there is some great benefits for being an Outrider, like having access to the podcast, premium access to the host, and a chance to appear on the podcast and exclusive PPP content and social events and model shows. We recently dropped our second copy of the Prospector. This e-publication is a PDF and is only intended for the 2 top tiers of the PPP Patreons. This will be a quarterly publication. Maybe we'll try and do that. And we'll feature builds, articles, references, galleries, and other Triple P related content. The 3rd issue is in process and will be released, and it will be a big one. JB has talked about it already, and he's currently working on it and promises a great magazine for us all.
Let's recognize our amazing deputy marshals. These guys step up and help the posse do what we do, and we sincerely thank them all for their support. And they are Greg Williams, Nick Wolf, Brian Clark, Sean Earl, Black Hat Scale Models, Ben Hardaway, Craig Jarbo, Adam Jackson, Red Beach One Studios, James Morando, Casey Gray, Mike Norris, Stephen Rodwell, Rick Cooper, Eric Ravina, John Hale, Eric Kane, Paul Burdett, Tim Gidcombe, Dan Newman, Robert Blocker, Tyler Moore, Derek Post, Craig Flynn, Scale Model Craft, Kenneth Childress, Nick Butta, Drew Gardner, Scott Hall,
Frank Perrone, The Voice of Bob, Jeremy Diamond, Ryan Smith, Terry Wilkinson, Chris Lovewell, Andrew Callis, Ethan Idenmill, Steve Baker, Joe Porche, Patrick Brown, Jay Kidd, Brandon Gentry, Lee Fogel, Robert Klein, Mark Ewing, Toadman, Model Doc, Doug Reed, Greg James, Les Ricalla, John Everett, Uncle Buck, Mark Bradley, Eric Brubaker, Jeremy Moore, DB Scale Model Studio, Matt Johnston, Jeremy Elliott, Mike Talley, Previous Seat, Mediocre Middle-Aged Modeler, Dan Offel, and JC Osborne.
How about those Posse foremen? These are Posse outriders who give the deputy marshals a hand, and we'd also like to thank them for their support. Raphael, Warhammer Adjacent, Russ, Stephen, Mickle, LeVar, Gil, Mike, Michael, Steve, Winston, Scott, Emery, The Krieger, Aussie Modeler, William, Keith, Sunkist, Jeff, Eddie, Ross, Warhoff Models, G. Baker, Tom Stuff, Crazy Loca, Len, Cliff, Damien, Kieran, Cody, Tim, Nukeman Mike, Ash, Irish Pat, Paul, iBones Models, Mr. Grizz, Jackson, Joel, Chris, Robert, Jamie, Steve, MD Models, Papa Steve Munsell, JV, Eric, Matthew, and David.
And of course, our $1 and free Outriders. We appreciate all of you. Like Florian. Thanks, everybody. Lastly, a request for all listeners. Would you please consider reviewing the Triple P and posting it on your favorite podcast platform? Each 5-star review will help other modelers find the Plastic Posse. Thank you and have a great week.